please welcome Denise Fuller, CEO and founder of National Aesthetic Spa Network, to present Profit with Pelotherapy.
Appreciate everyone being here so bright and early. My name is Denise Fuller, and just so you know what we're going to be talking about today, it's Profit with Pelotherapy. Now, I've heard a lot of different things pronounced Pelotherapy or what people think Pelotherapy is. One person said last night that it was in Spanish, pelo means hair. Well, that's okay because we're cosmetologists, and we will be talking about a hair treatment, but Pelotherapy actually means clay therapy. So just a little bit of information about myself is I am a licensed esthetician. So no, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I do love research. I love researching, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to dig into some dirt. With that said, I'm also a licensed nail technician. I've been internationally trained, so I went to Australia to further my education to become a beauty therapist, and I've worked at some of the top resorts in the United States, such as PGA, and also at the Marriott in Brisbane, Australia. So my love of body treatments actually came from the time I was in Australia. I've also authored books, and I've been an editor of a magazine, an international beauty therapy magazine, and I am the founder of the National Aesthetic Spa Network, which we have over 40,000 members that are professionals. But we're not here to talk about myself. We're here to learn about how we can make money, profitability, in Pelotherapy. So let's get into it. So, like I said, what is Pelotherapy? I've heard a lot of names and what people think Pelotherapy is. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is Pelotherapy is dirt. And getting into dirt is fabulous. So think about when you were a child. What did you love to do? For some of you, you went out and ate the dirt. It's okay. You can admit to it. We've all made the mud pies. And guess what? That was kind of healthy way back in the day. However, now, think about what we put on our grass or our dirt. There's a lot of pesticides. There are a lot of chemicals, to make our grass grow or to feed our grass. We wouldn't want to go out into our backyard, grab dirt, use it in our salon treatments or on our own personal body. So that's not the type of dirt I'm talking about. So please, statement, do not go out in your backyard and grab dirt. There are specialized clay therapies we're going to talk about. So Pelotherapy is a process of using earth or clay to facilitate a natural healing for the body. So what is Pelotherapy? Clay versus mud. So yeah, you could say dirt is dirt, right? But it's not. Mud, think about when you think of mud, what it has a lot of in it. It has a lot of rocks, a lot of sediment. It's very granular. Now, at spas, you have mud therapies, which are good. But my personal favorite is working with clay. It is soft. It is silky. You're not going to risk harming an excoriation of the skin. Excoriation, as estheticians know, we could accidentally create scarring if somebody were to take hard, difficult pumice that isn't perfectly round. It can excoriate the skin. So again, we're going to find out that there's reasons why we lean more to clay versus mud. Again, mud is healing, but clay you're going to find easier to work with. Clay particles are generally fine, smooth. Mud can be coarse. They have hardened deposits in them. Like I said, rock, sand, and particles. Clay is a living medicine. It is an intelligent therapy to use. It has amazing healing properties. It prevents germs, and it also activates the immune response system, and it stimulates circulation. So just some of the benefits of clay. Clay also revitalizes, softens, firms tired, sagging skin. So think about maybe you have a client that's in their 80s or someone a little bit older, how their skin is devitalized. There may be some age or wisdom lines, like we like to say. Clay is beautiful on the skin right before a bride. It's amazing doing a clay mask, how it'll brighten and even tighten their skin. It is made of micro and macro minerals. We're going to talk about that. It also regulates the electrical activity through the nervous system, and it maintains a homeostasis of the body. I refer to clay as it being very intelligent. Clay does something very unique. While it pulls out toxins, it also then pushes in good things. It pushes in all those good minerals. So when I say it's intelligent, it actually really is. It is a smart therapy to use because it takes out what your body doesn't need and it puts in creating that beautiful balance of healthy skin. So think about why we take vitamins, why we take minerals. Clay has them in them. It has your major or macro minerals, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, your micro trace minerals, iron, cobalt, copper, zinc, silica, selenium. Clay is intuitive. Clay, when you put it on the body, there's an actual pattern to the way it dries, and it's a mapping of what is going on in your skin. We know it has healing mineral sources, and they play an important role for longevity and well-being. There's a variety of clays to use. Now, I'm going to be real honest here. There's something I actually hate, and there is a clay that I do not like to play with, and that's bentonite. Bentonite is actually used in kitty litter. What does kitty litter do? It has a clumping action. Anything that is liquid in that litter box, so no, we're not going to go and make ourselves our own little clay litter, kitty box at our house with bentonite. It's a good clay. It is widely used and sourced, but it is a cheap clay. So when I was working in the spas and doing body treatments, I'd have a bentonite clay and I couldn't mix it. So think about, again, mixing kitty litter to use on a beautiful spa therapy. Is it therapeutically good? Yes, but it is a cheaper ingredient. So when you see that in your ingredient list, just go, that's a red flag, maybe, to being a cheaper ingredient that a product line is using. It's not a bad clay, it's just cheaper. There's much more elegant clays that we can use. Kaolin clay is a widely sourced clay. It is white. It is probably the softest clay that you will feel. It has almost like a mushy, silk, soft texture to it. It is beautiful to use on the face. There's, like I said, the one, bentonite. There's also Razul, which is a Moroccan clay, which is a more of a deep red, ruddy clay. The challenges with using a Razul clay, it can sometimes stain your sheets or your linens that you're using. Beautiful clay, great for cellulite treatments, but do keep in mind you might have stains with your linens. French green, that's my favorite. It is considered the gold standard of clays. So that's predominantly what we're going to be talking about is French green clay. And just like I said, guess what color it is? It's green. So like we talked about clay, kaolin, kaolinite, white, china clay. It is exactly what it is. It is a white clay. It is great for gentle or sensitive skin. So think about when you have, or if your child has chicken pox, what do we go and use? We go run to the drugstore, we buy a product, and guess what has in it to stop the itching? It's white china clay or kaolin china. And no, just because it said china clay, it's not necessarily sourced from China. It's just back in the day, they had fine china, so that's what they referred to. Kaolin clay is a fine clay. Again, it is great for gentle, sensitive, dry skin. It's wonderful around the eyes because it's not going to get really tight and draw so much. It's actually going to push more of the healing properties in. Fabulous for sunburns. Sunburns, such as using this clay with aloe vera, it's an inexpensive sunburn soother that you can use in your spa or salon. You can also use kaolin for a chocolate body wrap. Kaolin is not the one you're going to turn for if you have any cellulite problems or you want a cellulite service on your menu. So if you wanted to do a kaolin chocolate body wrap, now keep in mind some of the measurements are dependent on body size. So if you have someone really tall or a different size, you might have to add more, just like when you're cooking. If you have more relatives for a family dinner, sometimes you have to increase your recipe. It's the same thing with this. But normally you will use 8 tablespoons of white clay in your bowl, 3 tablespoons of, I love Hershey's cocoa. So I add the dry Hershey's cocoa, mix up with warm water, coconut, milk, or oil. Now a trick with working with clay, any clay. If you use clay and water, it's going to dry. If you use clay and oil, or such as a coconut oil, or an almond oil, or even castor oil, it's going to stay wet. Why do you want a clay therapy to stay wet? Well, first of all, it's easier to remove. If you're working in a spa or salon, you have a service menu time. You cannot be using a whole bunch of your linens to try to remove, or also it's going to take more time. So when you use clay, put an oil to it, and then you can almost take like a spatula and just like de-icing a cake. That's what you're going to do. You're going to remove the clay, put it somewhere, put it on your linen, your towel, and then just continue. Then take a hot towel over the body, and it's a quick removal. Because now you may be in a suite that doesn't have a Vichy shower. It doesn't have any type of shower or hydro system to remove. So hot towels are going to be your best medium to remove a body wrap. Kaolin or cosmetic clay. So let's talk about profitability. Okay, clays can run anywhere from, and I'm saying it from $8, $12, up to $75 per pound. If it's $75 per pound, don't buy it. They are seriously misleading you. But how do you tell how you can get your measurements for profitability? So we're going to take that pound, basic math. How many tablespoons is in a pound? There's 32. Take that. Basically, it comes down to 38 cents per tablespoon. 38 cents, plus maybe your cocoa, plus maybe your mineral oil, not mineral oil, castor oil, or sweet almond oil. Add those ingredients. That's how much you should find. So body treatments per treatment should be under $2. How much are you going to charge? Well, it depends. If you're in Nebraska, you may only charge $50 for a body treatment. If you're in Miami or Las Vegas or Beverly Hills, it could be $300. That's a nice wide profitability. $2 service, $300 what you're charging. So all these things, of course, then you also need to add in your linens, your detergent, how much you're paying your employees. All of these things might add up. But again, a body service really should be under $10 once you start adding. Does that make sense? Great. And if it doesn't, after the presentation, I'll answer any questions. So, with cosmetology and being a stylist, using a white clay hair mask is beautiful to work on someone that maybe has dandruff. And all of these you can do at home for personal use too. It's just a lot nicer to have a therapist do the application on it. 1 cup of kaolin, you can take raw organic apple cider vinegar, pure warm water, because you're not going to, a hair treatment, you're not wanting to do oil on that. Because that's going to take a lot of time to remove that oil. But let's just say you decided you really wanted a healing, soothing hair mask, or you forgot, you added oil. What's going to be the surfactant that breaks that oil? Not a detergent, but your shampoo. That's what shampoo does. So it can be done. I just wouldn't recommend it because it would be a little bit of a sticky mess. So with that mask, just kaolin clay, put water or apple cider vinegar, small bowl. Let's talk about the bowls. Should we use glass? Should we use plastic? Should we use aluminum? Well, clay is, again, an intelligent ingredient. So if we're using an aluminum or metal bowl, what is it going to do? It's going to draw those things into that product, into what you're using. The best is using more of a natural bowl. So a clay bowl is really optimum to doing your clay, working with your clays. But most of us use plastic, and it's not going to be in there long enough. So you're not going to worry too much about, oh no, this clay is going to draw plastic out of and into my client. It's not sitting there. You're going to leave a clay mask on the hair 5 to 10 minutes. The clay will naturally draw out oil and dirt while conditioning the hair and the scalp. Clay reduces dandruff and boosts hair growth. So maybe you have a male client that is experiencing some balding, male bald patterns. This might be a great treatment to use. For longer hair, again, we're just going to double the recipe. So, like I referred to earlier, a sunburn soother linen wrap. So several years ago, I was at the Phoenician in Arizona. It's a beautiful resort and spa. And they had what they were calling a sunburn linen wrap. It was about $300. And I'm looking at it. They had chilled linens, so they took their sheets, chilled them in a refrigerator. If someone had a sunburn, they were using that to cocoon their client, and they had mixed aloe, chilled aloe, kaolin clay, mixed it, slathered it, applied it to the client's body, then cocooned them with this cold linen and reduced the sunburn. $300, 20-minute treatment, and I'm sitting there doing the math going, wow, that's a lot of possibility. And there in Phoenix during summertime, what happens to people golfing, playing tennis, out in 117-degree heat? A lot of sunburns. They're making good money. And I was like, we need to figure out how to do that. So I, of course, went home. Now, when somebody has a sunburn, using a towel, that doesn't feel good on someone's skin who is really hurting. Think about how sometimes that terry cloth. So think of more of a softer towel to use, the microfiber towels, or even a cloth diaper. Just make sure that doesn't have like the flaps on it. That might not feel good if there's Velcro going across someone. So use some wisdom. But the softer the linen or the softer the towel when you're working with someone that has a sunburn, the more soothing it's going to be, the more healing it's going to be. Now, as much as I do not like bentonite, it is very widely distributed and easy to find. So remember again, when I talked about when you were a kid, you went out and made mud patties, or you ate mud or dirt. Well, clay is very good internally. But again, you have to be really careful. If you just use your white kaolin clay and go and eat it or drink it, it will cause you to have diarrhea. So make certain when you're looking at clays and you want to do something internally, it literally says USP, food grade for internal use only. Don't just go buy something off of Amazon or from a distributor. And if they're saying you can drink it, eat it, let's not be like Alice in Wonderland there and just go, okay, let's read the ingredients, let's read the labels, and make certain that they are truly good for internal use. Bentonite is. It's not fun to use in a spa, in a service, but it is great for internally. It is electromagnetic. It's made up of negative ions. Toxins and heavy metals are made of positive ions. Clay, when you internally drink it or eat it, edible clay, it works like a magnet and it pulls out. So it's a great detoxifying product to use. So just want to say that, with any clay that you see on the market, If they are marketing for internal use, fabulous. Just make certain that it is good for internal or using it for digestion. Razul clay, that's that Moroccan red clay. So think of like Sedona and how beautiful that clay is. Again, it is wonderful to use for cellulite. I have used a mixture of Razul and French green clay, working on different grades of cellulite. So just like as an esthetician does the Fitzpatrick scale with grades of acne, we actually have a grades of cellulite. Depending on the grade of cellulite is going to determine what type of cellulite service you're going to offer. Laser, maybe equipment. So the more dense the cellulite service or the cellulite that the client has will depend on what tools, or I say that whether you bring out the big guns, the bulldozer, that would be maybe sending them to a med spa, a physician, or using a laser. Clay body wraps or slimming wraps work good on cellulite 1, 2, and 3. Once you get up to a higher grade of cellulite, you need to, again, look at different alternatives for your client. But Razul clay is excellent for cellulite grades 1 through 3. It also helps with broken capillaries, dark circles, and puffiness under the eyes. So if someone had a really great time out in Las Vegas, maybe did a little bit too much drinking and dancing, you could use a eye treatment just for that. Maybe that's an add-on to your other facial you're using. French green clay, now that's my favorite. Okay, I've used it on so many things. Again, I want to preface, I'm not a doctor, but I do like playing medicine woman, especially because I have some naturopath training from Australia. So a couple just anecdote things to talk about is my daughter came home, my oldest daughter, and her teacher had noticed a bite on her leg. Well, in Florida, we tend to have some big spiders, and it was a brown recluse that had bitten her. So when a brown recluse bites someone, it literally eats the flesh out. So it was late, couldn't call the pediatrician, and I went, you know what, I'm going to use some clay on it. So we did a mixture of castor oil, French green clay. I applied it. I put saran wrap over it because she was going to go to bed, and I didn't want the clay to get all over. And then we just gently wrapped it. The next morning, the pus or the infection of the spider bite came out. So I got underneath it and I pushed it and extracted it out. Now I still took her to the doctor. We put her on antibiotics just to be safe. I'm not playing around with a brown recluse spider. Okay? The doctor looked at me and he goes, Denise, I don't know what you did, but there's no infection in here. It just looks like an open sore. And I'm like, I can assure you that it was a brown recluse. Please put my daughter on antibiotics. That was my pediatrician knew I did more things naturally. He was like, okay, we did. She didn't even scarf from it. My son, when we were in Australia, I was at university for naturopath training, and he came home with lice. That is every mother's nightmare. Lice is not nice. I freaked out. So I had been learning about clay therapies, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a hair mask on my son. Well, we were also doing essential oils. Well, in my nativity, I did the clay and a very spicy essential oil, and I didn't break it down. I didn't dilute it. His scalp suddenly started to get very, very red. Fortunately, I knew enough to grab some milk to cut that burning sensation off of my young son's scalp. Good news is we got rid of all the lice. A little bit of drama. And my son, anytime I come to his head, he's 31, sometimes he's like, what are you doing? What are you going to do now to me? What are you going to apply? So my children have been guinea pigs for a lot of things. I've also used French green clay. I had a strep throat, would not go away. I did clay, castor oil, because castor oil is very healing. Put it on my throat, left it there. It did not dry for over an hour and a half because my throat was so hurting. So, French green clay reduces swelling, infection, abscess, insect bites. It's great for facials. However, if you do French green clay in water, it dries so much and pulls everything out of the skin. Yes, it will push things in, but with acne clients, I like to do spot to spot or dot to dot. Just a little bit of clay and water and just on the acne blemishes itself. So when you're doing a facial mask, don't do a full clay and water mask on it. Great for body rubs, poultices, sore joints, and muscles, and against cellulite. Clay baths. If you decide to put clay in your bath, have a luxurious bath after work, just keep in mind you want to remove as much clay from your bath that you can because it can clog your drains. So again, in your treatment rooms or in your salon, have your technician remove as much of the clays from the basin before just rinsing it all out. Pelotherapy. So remember when I said that clay was an intelligent mud, intelligent dirt. So when you use clay and water, no oil, the way it dries leaves a pattern. And I like to call this foot reading because our feet will tell a story about our bodies. We know about reflexology. We know about acupuncture. The way the clay dries, when it is wet, it is still active. That means that point referencing the body, there's a problem area. There's a challenge. What is going on? Now, let's say it says liver. You're not going to be like, oh my God, ma'am, to your client, you're dying of liver cancer. No, it just means you might have a little bit of a challenge there. Maybe there's some digestion. Are you constipated? I love doing this treatment on women because where the pineal gland is on the large toe, it never dries. Never dries. What does that say about women? Their mind is always on men, it dries just like that. I'm just saying. Don't know what that exactly means, but I think women think a lot more than men. So you're going to paint the feet with French green clay, water, let it dry. To remove it, you're going to just hot towel it off. But watch where it dries, and it's going to tell a story. And you can do that in a pedicure. It's an add-on service, or you can add it on to your facial. So while you have a mask on your face, you can do this Pelotherapy foot reading on their feet. So that's just one of my clients, their pretty feet. So see how it's dried, but on the top of the foot, it's very, very still wet. The top of the foot is all about immune. Her immune system was down. She had just had pneumonia a couple weeks prior. So we needed to talk about how to build up her immunity. So it's a great conversation starter. So you can see the wear. Look at the one toe, the top big toe. Look at how wet they are. This person, this client, she never stops thinking. She never stops talking either. But that's a whole other story. But her foot is very, very wet. Take a reflexology chart. Just kind of see where the pattern is, and then you can go from there. So profiting in Pelotherapy, multiple uses for salon, spa, also personally at home. It's affordable. It's very effective. It is great results. I love playing in clay. So learn to play in clay, enjoy the incredible benefits. Thank you so much for attending. I hope you've learned something new today. I'm going to put our PowerPoint in the NASNPRO.com so you can go in. If you're not a member, just log into NASNPRO, look under the education sort. You'll find my PowerPoint. If you have any questions, we do have a booth here at Gina's GlamJam, so please come. I'll be happy to talk to you for hours about clay because I love clay. And if you have any additional, need resources or any questions, please reach out to me at denise@nasnpro.com because I hope you will dig into clay, find out that it is profitable, and enjoy it as much as I do.